everyone. Ni hao. It's my pleasure to be here today with all of you. Hello to everyone here, my fellow speakers and distinguished guests. First of all, I would like to make a confession, as well as a representative from Groundworks, that I'm not an engineer, and I'm not an expert in water management, and I'm not a public servant. I come from the civil society sector. Another small clarification, even though I was born and raised in Ecuador, I currently work in the United States, in Washington, D.C., and we implement projects in all of the Latin American region and the Caribbean. So with that, I'm going to talk to you about partnerships. And a lot of the issues that I'm going to highlight today have to do with things that have already been mentioned here, such as the importance of stakeholder involvement and community engagement in developing strategies for disaster risk reduction and flood risk reduction in particular. I'm going to bring up a couple of examples that we've done with the general support from Taiwan. So first of all, what is PADF? The Pan American Development Foundation, as you can see, So the Pan American Development Foundation was created 57 years ago by mandate of the members of the Organization of American States, or OAS. The OAS is a multilateral organization that is composed by the 35 members of, or by the 35 countries in the Americas, countries of Latin America and Caribbean, US, and Canada. We are a family of we're part of the family of Inter-American Organization, but we are a registered NGO in the United States with what's known as 501c3 status, and we work to implement the democratic charter of the OAS and promote human rights and other development areas across the region and protect vulnerable populations. Our vision, which has been this for a few years now, is a just, peaceful, and prosperous hemisphere in which all people have meaningful opportunities to thrive. Not only survive, but thrive. And as I mentioned, we work in Latin America and the Caribbean. We are not an NGO that focuses on specific thematic issues, but rather we focus on the entire region, implementing projects in a variety of different issue areas, which you can see here. We have 4 main thematic areas. We have one that focuses on economic opportunities, health and nutrition, and education. In this area, we implement projects ranging from STEM education for youth, to creating opportunities and livelihoods for vulnerable populations across the Americas. We also have an area of democracy, governance, and human rights, where we implement projects and programs, issues related to, for example, judicial independence, to the fight against corruption, promotion of transparency, etc. We have an area of peace, justice, and security, where we implement projects on issues such as gender-based violence and prevention of crime through community engagement, etc. And finally, the area of environment and disaster resilience, which is the one that I'm involved in currently, where we implement projects on climate change adaptation, disaster risk reduction, among other things. So there I highlighted the humanitarian and how it fits into our, we call this the medallion PDF that summarizes our work. We have had a very positive relationship with Taiwan, with the Taiwan Economic and Cultural Office in Washington, D.C. And since 2013, Taiwan has supported projects implemented by PADF in several countries across the region, sharing its expertise mostly on issues related to disaster risk reductions due to the vast expertise that this country has regarding these issues. So I'm going to talk to you about one past experience and one project that we're starting right now. So one of our recent experiences was in Guatemala, located in Central America. Guatemala, it's a beautiful country, but it's like Taiwan, very prone to natural disasters. In Guatemala City alone, it is estimated that around 800,000 people are at severe risk of being impacted by disasters. And those range from floods, landslides, and other weather-related disasters to earthquakes, volcanoes, and other geological disasters. And as this slide mentioned, it's also affected by having very vulnerable infrastructure and a lack of preparedness as a community and a society to respond to these disasters. So the project that we're implementing in Guatemala is called Yo Me Preparo, which means I am prepared, or I prepared myself. It focuses on investing in disaster-prone communities to increase their resilience to natural disasters. The project that we implemented was done in the community of Mixco in Guatemala, which has a population of about 36,000 people. And it focused on a number of things. Aside from building disaster-resistant infrastructure at a small scale, we provided the training to disaster response teams and organized disaster preparedness and response brigades, much modeled in the experience of Taiwan as well. Through this project, PADF implemented and led community engagement and discussion forums that enabled residents to map and identify what were their main risks to disasters and vulnerabilities to help them prioritize these risks and decide on actions to take against these risks. And it's very important, as we mentioned in the previous presentation, that all stakeholders are involved, because you never know what are going to be the residual risks or other situations that may arise if you don't involve stakeholders from an early stage of planning. So after this process, which enabled community members to develop locally owned solutions to address flood risks, there was a very interesting experience where community members, with the support from PADF and Taiwan, built a small-scale infrastructure project basically consisting of a paved walkway and staircase that helped this community that was very prone to landslides and flooding mitigate that risk. To give you an example, people in this community were living in a very steep hill, and every time it rained, children weren't able to go to school because of the water that came down the slope, and it was very hard for people to access their livelihoods and continue living their daily lives even without this very small scale and simple infrastructure. But through a community process where they were able to prioritize their needs, we were able to support them and build this infrastructure. So the community itself provided the manual labor. It was a very interesting community building activity as well, while PADF facilitated the workshops and Taiwan provided its own expertise to build this technical solution. And there you can see, after 5 months of construction, there's a walkway that basically changed the lives of about 500 people in Guatemala, enabling to then better be prepared for future disasters and heavy rainfall that may be caused by natural disasters or hurricanes or other phenomena, which is further exacerbated by climate change. And finally, I'm going to show you a slide that shows the walkway that was completed and benefiting, as I mentioned, about 500 people in this community. And this was inaugurated in September, on September 23rd of 2017, in the presence of the ambassador to Guatemala from Taiwan, Mr. John Lai. And it was a very interesting experience. And, the community was very thankful to PADF support. And this is just to lay out an example of how partnerships by governments and the civil society, the national civil society, and community members can lead to locally owned solutions that, even when done at a small scale, are very effective to mitigate risk from floods and other natural disasters at a local level. And very briefly, we're going to speak about a project that hasn't yet started. This is going to take place in Belize, but just to exemplify how we envision these projects in an early stage, I'm going to show you a couple of slides to summarize what we expect to achieve. So the goal of the project is to improve the ability of local authorities and residents of the San Ignacio and Santa Elena cities in Belize, twin towns, to reduce the negative impact of extreme weather events. It's about to start right now, basically, and it's expected to last about 8 to 10 months. And those are very quick facts about Belize and its vulnerability to specifically floods. You can see that floods represent a big amount of disaster vulnerability of Belize as a country. So it was very important for us and with the support of Taiwan to address this specific risk. This is a summary of the strategies and tools that we expect to use. First of all, we're going to train key stakeholders on collection, analysis, and distribution of geospatial data to inform the design of flood risk reduction. These include things such as OpenStreetMap and humanitarian OpenStreetMap, which is basically collaborative efforts to detect and map and identify key infrastructure to be able to prioritize disaster reduction efforts. It's a very cost-effective way to identify where the most significant risks are. This is supported by other technologies such as drone technologies to identify and map these risks. We're also going to utilize vulnerability assessments that are going to be conducted with the support of Taiwanese technical experts as well, which would be using the data that's produced by previous strategy and the surveys and the data that we're going to utilize and the technical assistance from Taiwan. We're going to develop flood risk reduction reports that will lay out the conclusions of these assessments. And finally, based on those findings and community engagement processes, we're going to conduct vulnerability reduction activities. And these may include many things that we still obviously have not identified, but will in turn result in efforts such as the one that I exposed briefly earlier in Guatemala. So this is just an example of how we see projects at the onset. Just a slide summarizing the expected results of this project. We are expecting to provide guidance to businesses and households to develop flood risk reduction strategies. We are going to train different stakeholders from the public sector, academia, community, etc. We're going to develop the strategy reports. We're going to organize community volunteering events that will support the building of the small-scale resilience infrastructure that we expect to develop with this project. So, as final remarks, I would like to stress the importance of involving communities to develop locally owned solutions, because it's not only a cost-efficient way to address disaster resilience, but it also creates livelihoods. It also empowers people to be more involved in the development plans of their own communities, and even it has some interesting spillover effects, such as making governments at the local and national level more accountable to their constituents. When people see that the role of local government needs to include these kinds of things, and when civil society is involved in helping citizens participating in decision-making processes, then that strengthens democratic institutions, that strengthens local governments, and that strengthens the ability of communities and civil society to work for the development of people in vulnerable areas of the world. Thank you very much.